Welcome again, all you campers. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Whatever time you're viewing this video, welcome. And I want to say something that's, again, very important. When I woke up this morning, I just had this overwhelming feeling about belief in myself. And I wanted to share this with you. You're going to hear this from me as well as I talk to you about scoring that level 5. The way you score that level 5 is because you believe in yourself. Whether it's in math or in reading, the way you know you're going to be successful is by believing in yourself. This morning when you woke up, what was the first thing you should have told yourself? It's like, man, I'm so glad to be alive, and I'm so glad that I have an opportunity to believe in myself today, that I know I'm going to be successful. This should be your regular routine. Make this your habit. Think positive, think successful. And the way you do that is by saying, I'm going to believe in myself. The only way other people believe in you, it starts with you. I believe in you because I believe in me. So I'm going to convey that to you. Believe in yourself. And we're going to start with that further believing in yourself by talking about language arts, Florida standards, reading an informational text, 2.4. Now, I keep going over this LAFS. It's important because when you want to look it up and study, and you take these assessments where they assess you, it's not a test. An assessment is an evaluation to measure how you compare to other students. Okay, remember, this language arts, Florida standards is important because reading an informational text, you want to know what these letters stand for. Because when you want to go back and study on your own, whether or not when you're doing an assessment, because assessment is not a test, it's evaluating you in comparison to other students and where you're at a certain grade level. You've been covering these particular standards ever since like kindergarten when they began exposing it to you, but they started testing you in the 3rd grade, and they will continue to test you up into the 10th grade. Some kids get tested all the way to the 11th grade because they're not successful. But we're not going to talk about the unsuccessful kids, because how do we know we're going to be successful? Because we started this day off, and we started this class off, and we started these sessions off with thinking that I'm going to score 5. This leads to that 5. Not a 1, 2, 3, or 4, but we're scoring a level 5 on my reading. And this particular one deals with words and context. Well, what do they mean by words and context? Well, text means words. So in Spanish, con means with, like chicken con carne, con means with. Con here means within the text. So within the text, there are words that helps explain maybe other words or other thoughts or ideas. So how does the author present that sometimes? Sometimes they use figurative language, figures of speech. Well, what do we speak? We speak words. That's how we communicate. So whether here within the text, words within the text is what in context will give me the definition of a particular thought of the author, a particular idea, a particular word and what it means. So for example, regarding one of the stories we talk about within the iExcel program that's in one of the video presentations that's in iExcel, we'll talk about a particular statement of phrase regarding a fault line. In that particular story, it's talking about earthquakes. And then the author uses the term fault line. Well, what does he mean by fault line? He means a crack. So let's say, for example, when we talk about there's a fault line in California that separates, it's called the San Andreas Fault. And whenever that fault line moves, there's an earthquake, a seismic event. The author uses the word seismic sometimes, and sometimes he uses the word earthquake. So what does the word seismic mean? It relates to earthquake. So within context, earthquake, or a major event that shifts or moves something. So in context, a seismic event could be an earthquake, or it could be an event that moves something that's very important, huge. For example, let's use the term seismic event in relation to COVID-19. Let's use a true informational event. Is COVID-19, has that been a seismic event, an earth-moving type of event? It didn't literally shake the earth, but it figuratively changed our lives. It may have changed our lives forever. I mean, how many years will we be walking around with a mask on? So that's a seismic event. Or let's go back to this phrase, fault line, which means crack. Let's say, for example, if you drop a glass and it has a crack in it, you can say, well, there's a fault line in there. People say, what do you mean by fault line? It's a crack. You can see it's visible. So in context, we can use the term fault line in relationship to a glass that's been broken or a vase. You know, when you guys are playing in your parents' house, you running around and you break something, you try to put it back together with glue, but your mom notices it. Why does she know it? She notices the fault line. Let's go back to cause and effect. Let's tie that into this. Well, what caused that fault line in my glass, your mom will ask? You run around playing in the house. See, what's gonna be the effect of that? You broke the glass. Now mom has a different cause and effect for you. I'm not certain that's gonna be, but I know if I was mom or dad and you break my important stuff, you know what that's gonna be, papa, possibly. So that's cause and effect. Well, depending on how the author uses terms and phrases within a story, there's figurative language that can be used. He may not say it literally, or he may use it figuratively. So what do we mean by, what's examples of figurative language? Let's talk about some of them. How about allusions? Will we refer to something without specifically stating it? You know, when your parents give you that look when you've done something wrong, they don't say they're gonna spank you, but you can look in the eyes like, ooh, I'm in trouble. Let me think. Just that they alluded to it by looking at you. Or when they say, you better not wait till you get home. You're like, oh my gosh, you know, am I in trouble? Yeah, you may be in a little bit of trouble. But then you gotta be smart and talk your way out of it by saying, please, mom, or dad, I'm sorry, I do this and that. So we're gonna also talk about hyperbole. Hyperbole. Hyper, exaggeration. So when you look at this type of a figure of speech, it's when you hear somebody say like, man, he's bigger than the world. Well, there's a metaphor, a simile in there, because we're comparing things, but it's hyperbole. Nobody's really bigger than the world, no individual. But for example, the real life documentary they did of Michael Jordan, he's the greatest basketball player ever. But some people, that's hyperbole. Some people say, oh, that's argumentative. It's not true. They've proven that he's the greatest ever because ever hasn't lasted. We haven't gotten to that point yet. So that would be hyperbole. So those are examples of figures of speech. So as we wrap up this particular standard, when you go into IXL, guess what we're gonna be working on? We're gonna be working on figures of speech like hyperbole, metaphors, similes, personification, all of those things. But regarding that one, regarding personification, the ability to project an image on an inanimate object. I want you to project an image on yourself to personify within yourself that level 5. How do you do that? By believing in yourself. So as we wrap up this standard, Language Arts Florida Standards 2.4 is related to 1.1, 1.2, and 1.3 and reading and informational text. And guess what? It's going to be related to 2.5. And I'm going to see you in video session 5 as we unlock and unpack 2.5. See you on the other side. Have a great day. Take care.